Look at the photographs from Sandringham this past Christmas, and something doesn't add up. Beatrice and Eugenie were there, the daughters of a man who'd just been stripped of his royal titles and pushed out of public life entirely. They were welcomed at the table. But Camilla's grandchildren, the 5 kids who'd been folded into royal Christmases just the year before, were nowhere to be seen. Tom Parker Bowles confirmed it himself. Neither he nor his sister Laura would be attending. And the strangest part of the whole story isn't the guest list. It's that Princess Anne, the one person whose opinion arguably carries more quiet weight than anyone else in that family, reportedly watched the boundary get drawn and said absolutely nothing, in a family where silence is a language of its own. That particular silence is deafening. What did it mean? Why were Andrew's daughters in while Camilla's family was out? And what does any of this tell us about what happens to Camilla the day the crown changes heads? Stick around, because the answers connect in ways the official statements will never admit. And if palace power dynamics are your thing, the moves that happen between the press releases, hit subscribe so you don't miss when we break the next one down. Start with the official explanation, because on paper it sounds perfectly reasonable. Christmas 2025 was going to be smaller, more private, more focused on immediate family, because the king is 77 and still working through cancer treatment. Fair enough. A man managing a serious illness scales things back. Nobody would question that, except the guest list doesn't match the excuse. If the rule was immediate family only, Beatrice and Eugenie don't make the cut. They're not working royals, and their father had just been through the most public disgrace in modern royal history. Yet they were there, reportedly rewarded for choosing loyalty to the institution over loyalty to Andrew. So the gathering wasn't strictly small, and it wasn't strictly free of complicated names. It was shaped in a way that happened to exclude Camilla's biological family, specifically. That's not a scheduling quirk. Royal watchers read it as a line being drawn. The question is, who drew it? To understand why that question matters, rewind 12 months. Christmas 2024 was supposed to be the opposite story. For the first time, Camilla's children and grandchildren joined the royal family at Sandringham, and commentators treated it as a landmark, the final chapter of one of the most improbable rehabilitations in British public life. Camilla has 5 grandchildren through the 2 children from her first marriage. Tom Parker Bowles, 50 years old, a food writer and critic, has 2, Lola and Freddie. Laura Lopes, who works in the art world, has 3, Eliza, Gus and Louis. None of them hold titles. No HRH, no official role, no place in the line of succession. Legally and constitutionally, they're private citizens whose grandmother happens to have married the king. But for a while, that seemed like enough. They appeared at royal events. They were photographed in royal spaces. And that 2024 Christmas looked like confirmation that the blending was complete, one integrated family, after decades of scandal, hostility, and headlines. Then a single year later, the invitation didn't come. Keep that reversal in mind, because it's the hinge the entire story swings on. Now here's where it reportedly stops being about Christmas at all. According to the accounts circulating in royal circles, Prince William made a move that went further than one holiday, a move described as effectively expelling Camilla's grandson from Windsor, or at minimum making it unmistakably clear that the casual access Camilla's family had enjoyed around the inner royal circle was finished. None of this is confirmed by the palace, and it almost certainly never will be. That's how these things work. But the reported timing lines up with something much bigger that is verifiably happening, and this is where the story gets structural rather than personal. William's vision for the monarchy is no secret. Insiders have described it for years, and his actions keep matching the description: a slimmed-down institution built around the direct line of succession and a compact team of working royals who carry out engagements and visibly earn their public funding. He has watched what happens when the royal family sprawls, when peripheral figures soak up attention without contributing anything, and one bad actor can set fire to the whole brand. Andrew was the cautionary tale, and by multiple reports, William was the one pushing hardest for a fast, clean resolution, while his father hesitated. Sources described him as smoldering on the sidelines, frustrated the institution wouldn't cut away a damaging element quickly enough. When Charles finally removed Andrew's titles in late 2025, it was widely understood that William and Camilla had both been pushing for it. They were allies in that fight. But here's the thing about alliances built on a shared enemy. They end when the enemy does. And beneath the Andrew alignment sits a much older fault line between William and his stepmother that no amount of polite public choreography has ever fully erased. Camilla was at the center of the collapse of William's parents' marriage. Diana famously described her marriage as crowded, and the whole world understood the reference. William grew up watching his mother's humiliation play out across tabloids and television, watching his father choose another woman while the family came apart. For years after Charles and Camilla married in 2005, observers described William's posture toward her as correct rather than warm, dutiful in public, careful in private, a chill that never quite thawed. He and Camilla found common ground during the Andrew crisis because both of them, in their own way, are protective of the institution. But shared institutional instinct is not trust, and it is absolutely not the same as wanting her grandchildren permanently woven into the royal orbit. Which brings us to a moving van, of all things. In November 2025, William and Kate relocated their family from Adelaide Cottage to Forest Lodge on the Windsor Home Park estate. Palace insiders read that move as strategy, not lifestyle. The Wales family was reportedly building its own court, its own household, physically separate from Buckingham Palace, operationally distinct from the current King's machinery. And every court has a membership policy. In William's version, George, Charlotte, and Louis are the core. The Middletons are accepted in a managed, limited way. But Camilla's grandchildren represent exactly the kind of complexity his model has no slot for. They're not Windsors, they're not working royals. Their entire connection to the crown runs through one person, their grandmother, and her position is about to become far more fragile than most people realize. On the surface, Camilla is the queen, secure at the top. Underneath, her leverage is quietly draining away. And here's why. When Charles's reign ends, Camilla's status transforms overnight. She would become Queen Dowager. Her household arrangements get renegotiated, her access to royal life gets redefined. And every one of those decisions lands on the desk of the new king, William, the man whose mother's suffering she is forever publicly linked to. That's the structural reality that makes the reported Windsor expulsion so significant. If the accounts are accurate, William isn't being petty about his stepmother's grandchildren. He's setting the template for his own reign and doing it while his father is still on the throne, which tells you exactly how much informal power has already migrated. Charles remains king. He holds the constitutional authority. His doctors say his health is improving, and he's reportedly planning a major state visit to Washington in spring 2026. But the forward-looking power, the planning, the personnel choices, the quiet signaling about who belongs in which rooms is increasingly flowing toward William, and the palace machinery is actively raising his profile to prepare for what's coming. Transitions in that family don't begin with a proclamation. They begin with invitation lists. And Camilla's ability to push back is shrinking at exactly the wrong moment. She's 78. She struggled with lingering fatigue after pneumonia in late 2024, deals with ongoing mobility issues, and is naturally scaling down her workload. Reports suggest her role will shift meaningfully, stepping back from duties younger royals can absorb, remaining influential behind the scenes, but no longer central to daily operations. Every step back costs her leverage. The unwritten arrangements about who gets invited, who gets photographed, who sits at the Christmas table, those are being quietly renegotiated right now. And by every visible signal, her non-royal family is losing ground in that negotiation. Which loops us back to the person we started with. Because if any of this were an overreach, if William were genuinely mistreating the Queen's family, there's one person in that institution with the standing and the bluntness to object. And she hasn't. Princess Anne completed 478 official engagements in 2025, more than anyone else in the family, including William, at 74 years old, running on a personal code of duty, discretion, and dignity that she's followed for half a century. Her history with Camilla runs deep. They moved in the same equestrian circles long before the relationship with Charles became public. Anne attended the 2005 wedding. The relationship has been consistently respectful, but Anne's first loyalty has always been to the institution, and she witnessed all of it. The damage the affair did to the monarchy, Diana's very public pain, the toll on William and Harry. She never said a word about any of it. She just kept working while chaos swirled around her. So when reports emerged that William had moved to limit Camilla's family's access to Windsor and that Anne was present and offered no objection, commentators, careful to stress nothing is confirmed, read that silence as something close to endorsement. Royal insiders suggest she sees her own values in William: responsibility over comfort, institution over sentiment, duty over family politics. In a family where a raised eyebrow can end a career, silence from Princess Anne is louder than any statement the palace could issue. Step back far enough, and this was never really about one grandson and one gate at Windsor. It's about two philosophies of monarchy trading places. Camilla's rise remains one of the most extraordinary reversals in modern British history, from being branded the most hated woman in England to standing crowned beside Charles at the coronation in May 2023, a scene that would have sounded like fiction a decade earlier. But rehabilitation has a ceiling. The inclusion her grandchildren enjoyed, the invitations, the proximity, the soft belonging was never an entitlement. It was an arrangement, and arrangements are only as durable as the king who makes them. Charles's monarchy has been expansive and personal, willing to bend the institution around complicated family history. Everything reported about William points the other way: bounded, defined, ruthlessly focused, with little room for sentimental attachments that don't serve the mission. He thinks in decades, not news cycles. He's watched carelessness nearly wreck the institution he's inheriting, and if avoiding that means making uncomfortable calls while his father still wears the crown, calls that create awkward silences at family gatherings, the evidence suggests he's willing to make them now rather than in a crisis later. So the picture that emerges is a monarchy already mid-handover in everything but title. Camilla's grandchildren, through no fault of their own, appear to be the first visible casualties of the shift, the first to learn that their access was tied to one particular king's particular preferences. Anne, who has seen every cycle this institution has survived for 50 years, reportedly watches it happen and finds nothing worth objecting to. And William keeps building, quietly and methodically, one boundary, one invitation list, one unannounced decision at a time. The real question is no longer whether the transition has begun. It's how much of the next reign will already be locked in place before the crown ever changes hands, and who else discovers, the way Camilla's family just did, that their seat at the table was never actually theirs.